Retaining walls, seawalls, and protective landscapes have been washed away from the island's coastlines. And since the passage of Beryl, a team from the Coastal Zone Management Unit has been responding to calls for emergency protection to properties where the walls have failed. But Director of the CZMU, Dr. Brewster, makes it clear restoring them is the owner's responsibility. He says the retaining walls are usually built to withstand a Category 2 or 3 storm wave, while government structures are built to resist Category 4 surges. The CZMU official says property owners have to consider their budgets when looking to build walls separate and distinct from the government.
We recognize now that increased storminess and intensity and surges, etc., are going to be on the rise, and we also have to recognize that a property owner may not be able to afford the escalated costs for doing such work, so they still have to look to build within their means. We can set a standard, and we have to try and ensure that they can achieve that standard, but if the pocket doesn't allow it, then there has to be some certain minimum that has to be deemed to be acceptable.
Dr. Brewster says this is the first time Barbados has experienced this type of storm surge and describes the action of the waves on the south coast as constructive rather than destructive.
In some areas along the same south coast, we saw sand being deposited in areas where beaches may have been very narrow before, which shows that the wave itself was a constructive wave and not a destructive wave, in the sense that because there was so much sand in suspension in the water that was brought perhaps from the deep into the nearshore environment, all that sand surged up into the nearshore environment.
This is in complete contrast to the west coast, where there's been more erosion.
As a result, we have significant storm-cut beach, as we call them, scarps or scars, whereby in excess of 7 feet of sand has been removed.
Dr. Brewster says the beaches cannot be rebuilt immediately, but the tide will allow them to return over time. He's hopeful this will happen before the next hurricane comes. Rachelle Agard, CBC News.